Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Los Angeles, the vibrant heart of California, shone brightly that evening. In the chic Beverly Hills neighborhood, the facades of buildings reflected neon lights and the headlights of luxury cars. Among these prestigious addresses, one restaurant caught everyone's attention, La Bella Vita, an establishment renowned for its Michelin-starred cuisine and refined ambience. Inside, the gleaming hardwood floors, crisp white tablecloths, and crystal chandeliers created an atmosphere of luxury and perfection. Guests, including businesspeople, celebrities, and influencers, savored their meals amidst the elegant ambience of the restaurant. The elegant and disciplined staff moved with precision, anticipating every request. But what no one knew was that behind this facade of perfection lurked a secret. Cristiano Ronaldo, the world football legend, wasn't just a VIP client. He was the restaurant's discreet owner, investing in the establishment under an unknown name so that its success would be based solely on quality, not his celebrity. That evening, a tension would erupt, an unexpected confrontation that would reveal to everyone that even the greatest names can find themselves facing human arrogance, and that every lesson deserves to be taught with dignity and firmness. Saturday night was in full swing at La Bella Vita. The restaurant was full, every table occupied by discerning customers and elegantly dressed couples. The air was filled with a mixture of hushed conversations, the clinking of silver cutlery, and the subtle aroma of exquisitely prepared dishes. In this orchestrated ballet, Ethan Miller, a young waiter with a sharp gaze but a notable arrogance, made his way between the tables. He had a reputation for being fast and efficient, but also for being disrespectful to those he deemed pretentious. With his wild hair and impeccable uniform, he wore a mask of confidence, although some of his colleagues whispered that he overestimated himself. That evening, Ethan had already had several run-ins with demanding customers. Between last-minute order changes and veiled criticism from some regulars, his patience was near its limit. But he felt invincible, believing that no one, not even a celebrity, could stand up to him. As he was about to serve the table at the back, a customer entered. Tall, elegant, wearing a sober but remarkably refined suit, the man moved with a quiet assurance, not ostentatiously attracting attention, but naturally imposing. Ethan, seeing him, gave a condescending smile. Another influencer who thinks he's above it all, he thought. Little did he know, this man was Cristiano Ronaldo, the world football superstar and, more importantly, the discreet owner of La Bella Vita. What seemed like a simple, chic evening would soon turn into a memorable confrontation, where arrogance and ignorance would meet calm and authority. Cristiano Ronaldo walked through the restaurant lobby with natural ease. His presence commanded respect without him needing to raise his voice or make himself conspicuous. His assistants followed closely behind him, discreetly carrying bags and checking the final details of the reservation. A photographer, claiming to be capturing the restaurant's atmosphere, stood slightly to the side. Ethan, who had just received another table's order, saw the man and frowned. To him, he was just a pretentious, confident customer who was sure to complicate the evening. He walked over to him with a forced smile, determined to show he was in control. "Good evening, sir, follow me, I'll seat you at your table," Ethan said, a slightly condescending tone in his voice. Cristiano followed him calmly, silent but attentive. The other customers cast curious glances, some whispering that they vaguely recognized the player's silhouette, but hesitant to confirm. Ethan, for his part, was completely unaware of the customer's identity and was already preparing a sarcastic remark in his head to demonstrate his authority. The table was a VIP seat, secluded for privacy and comfort. Cristiano sat down elegantly, placed his jacket on the backrest, and studied the menu. His requests would be simple but precise: a few vegetarian adjustments, special attention to the ingredients, and a specific accompaniment for each dish. Ethan, irritated by the precision and delicacy of the order, could not help but murmur to himself. "Seriously? Who thinks they can give me orders like that?" At that precise moment, a subtle tension settled over the room. Cristiano, calm and polite, smiled slightly, while Ethan, unaware of who he was facing, began to show his arrogance and impatience. Ethan returned to the table after a few minutes, carrying the tray with the glasses of sparkling and still water. He set the glasses down with a light clink, as if to signal his authority, and took the menu Cristiano had left on the table. "So, what exactly do you want?" Ethan asked, a mocking smile on his lips. "Because now you're starting to complicate my life." Cristiano looked up calmly and replied with characteristic politeness. "I just want a few adjustments to the vegetarian menu, thank you. Nothing complicated." But Ethan, sure of himself, could not hold back a sarcastic remark. "Oh yeah? Because I thought you were just some influencer who thinks he's above the waiters. Apparently, you have some particular tastes." A low murmur rippled through the room. The customers began to pay attention, some surprised by the tone of the disguised insult. Cristiano, however, remained impassive. His gaze, calm but penetrating, never left Ethan. Ethan, feeling he had the advantage, continued, ignoring the looks around. "You know, we take things seriously here. So, either you simplify your requests, or—" He trailed off, thinking he would intimidate the customer. Cristiano, with a barely perceptible smile, replied. "I assure you, I'm not asking for anything impossible. Just a little respect and attention, as I do for all your clients." This simple but firm sentence made Ethan shudder. For the first time, he felt that his arrogance might not be enough. But he wasn't yet ready to admit his fault and continued to speak condescendingly, triggering the tension that would quickly reach its peak. Ethan, convinced of his authority and completely unaware of who his client was, leaned forward slightly and said, this time so everyone could hear him. "Honestly, who do you think you are? Even your attitude is no better than that of an arrogant and superficial customer." An icy silence fell over the restaurant. The customers froze, shocked by the waiter's audacity. Some exchanged surprised glances, while others murmured among themselves, not daring to intervene. Ethan, proud of his victory, crossed his arms and waited for a reaction, sure that the man would submit. Cristiano stood motionless and showed no anger. His calm was impressive, almost intimidating. He simply placed his hands on the table and breathed deeply. Then, in a soft but firm voice, he replied. "Ethan, I don't think you realize who you're talking to." The waiter narrowed his eyes skeptically. "And who should I fear, sir?" he asked, still arrogant. Cristiano smiled slightly and stood up slowly. He approached Ethan with a grace that silenced the entire room. He then said, "I am the owner of this restaurant." The shock was immediate. Ethan felt his face turn crimson. The customers held their breath, the murmurs turned into audible whispers. The young waiter, frozen in place, couldn't believe it. The owner of the establishment he had just insulted stood before him, calm, powerful, and completely in control of the situation. Silence hung in the restaurant. All the customers and staff were staring at Ethan and Cristiano. The waiter, unable to move, stammered. What? You're the owner?" Cristiano, still calm, nodded with a slight smile. "Yes, Ethan. I'm the owner of La Bella Vita. And you just disrespected not only me, but all the staff and customers here." Ethan looked down, a mixture of shame and disbelief. His arrogance was gone in an instant. He realized the magnitude of his mistake, but fear and humiliation paralyzed him. I didn't know," he murmured. Cristiano gestured for the manager and staff to gather around the table. In a calm but firm voice, he explained. "Here, respect is the key to our success. Every customer, every staff member deserves to be treated with dignity. Arrogance and disregard have no place in this establishment." He turned to Ethan. "You will apologize to everyone and undergo training on ethics and customer behavior. This is non-negotiable." Ethan nodded, ashamed, unable to express his regret. The customers applauded quietly, impressed by how Cristiano was turning this humiliation into a constructive lesson. Even the staff, relieved and admiring, felt the weight of the message. This confrontation would mark Ethan for a long time. He understood that arrogance and ignorance could be costly and that respect, even in the face of the unknown, was a non-negotiable value. After the confrontation, Ethan stood frozen for a few moments, his hands shaking, unable to speak. Customers watched with a mixture of surprise and admiration, some pulling out their phones to immortalize the discreet event. The manager approached Ethan and said softly but firmly, "Ethan, you've been called to order for your behavior. Now apologize to Mr. Ronaldo and all the staff." Ethan took a deep breath, shame overwhelming him. With a trembling voice, he addressed Cristiano and the assembly. I'm sorry, Mr. Ronaldo. I should never have disrespected you, your clients, or the team." Cristiano nodded, accepting the apology, but the lesson was clear: respect is not negotiable. "Thank you, Ethan. Learn from this experience. Respect and dignity must guide every action, especially in a place where we welcome people from all walks of life." The staff, who had been watching the scene in silence, felt a breath of relief. Even the VIP guests, impressed by the calm and authoritative way the situation had been handled, exchanged admiring glances. Ethan, for his part, understood that his arrogant behavior had almost cost him his reputation and his career. He knew that this public humiliation was a lesson he would remember for the rest of his life. The restaurant gradually returned to normal. The waiters resumed their services, but with a different attitude, marked by respect and caution. La Bella Vita's reputation had never been stronger, not only for its cuisine, but also for the values embodied by its owner. The next day, the story of the evening was already circulating among the restaurant's staff and regular customers. Those who had witnessed the scene recounted how Cristiano Ronaldo had remained calm and dignified in the face of a waiter's arrogance. The murmurs quickly turned to compliments, and La Bella Vita's reputation as an establishment where respect prevails above all else was cemented. Ethan, for his part, couldn't shake the humiliation of the previous day. Every memory of the confrontation reminded him of how reckless and arrogant he had been. He spent the morning reflecting on his attitude, realizing that he had judged a client without knowing him and had been punished for it. Yet Cristiano had shown that power and success lay not in intimidation, but in self-control and the ability to teach by example. This lesson struck Ethan deeper than any punishment. Social media, always hungry for celebrity anecdotes, began to share the story. Articles focused on the incident, but especially on how Ronaldo handled the situation. The restaurant owner was not only a football superstar, but also a model of leadership and respect, capable of transforming an embarrassing moment into an example of integrity. Ethan, confronted with his own vanity, realized that his attitude could never be the same again. He decided to follow the advice and training offered by the restaurant, determined to become a better server and learn what it truly meant to serve with dignity and respect. A few days after the incident, Ethan arrived at the restaurant with a different attitude. His manner was less arrogant, his gaze more attentive to the customer's needs. Every gesture, every word seemed measured and respectful, as if he had finally understood the importance of his role. Under the supervision of Cristiano's manager and assistants, Ethan now underwent strict training in service and professional ethics. He was taught not only how to serve properly, but also how to interact with dignity and empathy, regardless of the circumstances. When he resumed serving VIP tables, he surprised everyone, including his colleagues who were used to his arrogance. Customers, sensitive to this new attitude, quickly noticed the change. Some smiled and complimented him, noting that he seemed more attentive and polite. Cristiano, discreetly observing the scene from a distant table, nodded with satisfaction. He knew that true success lay not just in Michelin stars or social media, but in the mutual respect between staff and customers. One evening, while Ethan was serving a couple of regular customers, he stopped for a moment, smiled genuinely and said, "Thank you for your patience, I will do everything to make your experience perfect tonight." This simple, almost banal gesture marked a turning point for him. He understood that humility and respect could transform not only his career, but also his perception of himself and others. The arrogant waiter of yesterday was beginning to become a respected professional, appreciated for his work and his attitude. A few days after the incident, customers who had witnessed the confrontation between Cristiano Ronaldo and Ethan posted stories and videos on social media. The story quickly spread like wildfire. Internet users were fascinated, a football superstar calmly handling a waiter's arrogance in his own restaurant, turning a humiliation into a lesson in ethics. The media seized on the story. Articles detailed every moment, from Ethan's initial provocation to the revelation of Cristiano's role as owner. Comments poured in, praising not only Ronaldo's professionalism but also his ability to transform conflict into a display of respect and leadership. What a lesson in class and dignity. Even in his business, Cristiano shows that he is a role model. Ethan, aware that his mistake was now public, felt a mixture of embarrassment and gratitude. His transformation was becoming visible not only within the restaurant, but now before the entire world. He realized that this experience, although painful, had been a turning point in his life. Cristiano, for his part, remained discreet. He wasn't seeking fame for this incident, his goal was simply to ensure his restaurant remained a place where respect was paramount. Yet the impact exceeded all expectations. Customers flocked to experience La Bella Vita, not only for its refined cuisine, but also for the atmosphere, where dignity and courtesy were palpable. The lesson had been learned: respect, patience, and self-control could transform a delicate situation into an inspiring demonstration for all. Ethan, now more humble, watched the change around him, aware that he had just experienced one of the most important lessons of his life. The following weeks were marked by a visible change at La Bella Vita. Inspired by Cristiano's example and Ethan's transformation, the staff worked with a new level of professionalism and mutual respect. Customers took notice of this unique atmosphere, and the restaurant's reputation reached new heights. Ethan, now more confident but humble, served with attentiveness and courtesy. Every gesture, every smile, demonstrated his awareness. He had learned that respect and empathy were essential, not only for his career, but also for his personal growth. Cristiano, discreetly observing the scene from a side table or through the feedback on social media, knew his lesson had been heard. He had proven that leadership was not measured by authority or celebrity, but by the ability to inspire and uplift those around us. The restaurant continued to thrive, attracting customers not only for the quality of its cuisine, but also for the unique human experience it offered. Every customer who walked through the door felt this atmosphere where dignity and respect were at the heart of everything. Ethan, sitting at the end of a busy shift, realized how much this confrontation had changed his life. He knew he would never return to being the arrogant waiter of old. And Cristiano, quiet but firm, had shown everyone that a true celebrity wasn't just someone you saw on the pitch, but also someone who knew how to teach, inspire, and uplift those around them. Thus ended an evening that could have been a fatal humiliation, but which became an unforgettable life lesson for all. Respect, patience, and dignity are the true ingredients of success.